And we are live. Howdy doody.
Howdy.
How's it going?
Good.
How's PA? You got snow in PA yet?
We got a dusting today. I had a week ago, we got dumped with like Snowmageddon, which is kind of interesting because when I was a kid, or even 5 years ago, it would have just been a dusting. But because snow has been so infrequent in Pennsylvania, at least Western Pennsylvania, Southwestern PA, they made a big deal about it. But I couldn't get up my driveway. I left, no snow, came back, snow, couldn't get up the driveway. You guys have all been there. You know, my driveway is pretty steep.
Really, for the audience at home, your driveway is like 91 degrees.
Yeah, so
inverted.
Yeah.
Will Parker says hi.
Oh, Will Parker said hi.
Hey, Will.
Hey, Will.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
The question is, does Will Parker still have the greatest mustache in firearms training?
Of course he does.
Probably. I don't see how he couldn't.
He does. That's like me with my spiky hair, right? It's the gimmick.
That's the junior executive cut.
It's not the same.
Come on. All right, Steve Dedison said, "Hello, good evening."
I had to drive up I-81 to Northern Virginia last Saturday when all that crazy snow was going on. I was incredibly. I thought it was going to be way more adventurous than it was.
Yeah. Well, it's it's the context of the season. Like,
I guess,
as I said, back when we were kids, man. Like, everyone says when you were young, there was 6 feet of snow and you walked. We had a lot of snow back when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
We were shorter too. So,
well, that's true. Yeah.
Some random Facebook user says it's like spring in Massachusetts, 55 degrees on the range.
Yeah. Nice. This is why I stopped scheduling around the weather for classes.
Right.
Outdoor classes.
You can't. Bad guys aren't going to say, "Hey, can we get a rain check on this?" Or can we get a rain check on this, bad guy? It's too cold out. It's raining.
See, now he's bragging about his
negative 29 in Montana.
Glacial weather.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Now he knows why I plan on being out there in like August, because it's beautiful in August. I've been there the past 2 years at his place in August. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Tonight it'll be
it's
negative.
nice up there now too. It's just you got to look at it from
a window.
4 layers of insulation.
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
So what do we got going on tonight? What are we doing here?
Rob, what are we doing?
I don't know. I just thought you're killing time. I don't know. I'm just like,
okay.
Like an intro. I didn't.
We got a few people. So we posted because of something that you just rolled out a couple days ago, and it kind of piqued our interest as far as 30 super carry. It's like
See, what I think of when I hear that, if you remember on Bugs Bunny, when Wile E. Coyote, when he goes super genius, I hear super carry is what I hear in my head. Yeah.
So ta-da, now we're starting, right? Go.
Yeah, and go.
And Bill Dalby, Bill Dalby's the random guy, by the way.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
He's good people.
Hey, Bill.
He is.
That's a good random guy to have.
Could have been a lot of random guys in Massachusetts, to be honest.
Totally
I'm glad it's Bill. So we announced the collaboration. We've been working on it in theory, I think it was first brought up a year ago. We really had a conversation about it at SHOT Show last year. Nice. And it really didn't get started until probably August or July, right? Once we got the PD10 9mm, right? The long-awaited launch of that was last year. And there was no bandwidth or any serious time for thinking about other calibers, let alone like a caliber that honestly I hadn't really paid any attention to. For any real practical purpose.
Yeah, when you first announced that, I was like, I've been in your cadre for a number of years. Of course, we've worked together for many years, and we've always talked about different calibers being viable calibers, but it was pretty much decided, hey, 9 is probably your best for all of these reasons. Yeah. Why design a gun for that particular cartridge?
Well, it's more like, I think, why design the cartridge, right? Because that's why is it there? And I think that's where I did actually an article just dropped at Personal Defense Network today, where I sort of call myself out on the complacency that I had towards like kind of blasé, who cares so much about 30 super carry. And thankfully, one of my buddies and then several buddies eventually over at Federal were kind of like, yeah, you really should look at this more closely because, you're not dumb. And if you look at the stats, you should see what we see and you should see why we did this. Right. And when you have like one of the biggest names in ammunition in the world, and arguably one of the most powerful private sector companies, when you look at like in the firearms industry, we look at the whole family, right? You got CCI, Spear, Federal, and that Remington also. So it's like wow, yeah, there's something I'm missing, right? Let me dig a little deeper into this. So it wasn't really until last summer that I got to start really doing the math, looking at it, trying to understand why a company like Federal and then the whole Vista group would put so much energy into this when it's such an uphill climb. And then you see on paper it should work well. You look at the gel test, it does work well. You look at the statistics, it's a pretty cool round, but it's not getting market acceptance. Okay, so why? Well, and you start thinking about, okay, why, Rob, isn't it getting market? You've been around for 29,000 years in this industry. Why do you think this isn't working? And all of a sudden, a lot of the answers I came up with were exactly the same answers that I was giving the people when they're like, hey, how come every store doesn't have a PD10 yet? And it's like, design something very kind of passionately, specifically for a niche that you're very educated in, you have a lot of experience in, 20 something years of watching lots of hands on lots of guns. The way we designed PD10 was very specific. It wasn't driven by marketing. It wasn't driven by a survey. It wasn't driven by what's trendy or what we think is going to be trendy. It was just what do I think a carry gun should be? Well, Federal did the same thing, right? They started with what do we think a defensive round should be, a personal defense carry round should be that will work in the kinds of guns that people carry. And they came up with 30 Super Carry and focusing on terminal performance first, and then kind of going back from there, looking at a couple different calibers in that range. They found a bullet that was a narrower diameter than 9mm. And almost unfortunately, what a lot of people have jumped on is the idea that, you can get 9mm type performance and more rounds in a similar sized gun, right? So like that whole, like most of the stagger stacks of small guns are +1 or 2. PD10 is 12 +1 instead of 10 +1. And some of the, if somebody came out with a full size gun, a double stack type gun, if someone came out with one of those, it would maybe gain 3 rounds. So you could go from 18 to 21 in a stack. PD18, for example, could become a PD21. So that's what's really kind of, I think, made a lot of people look at it is, I can carry more rounds, but there's so much more going on with 30 Super Carry. And once I looked at it, did the gel test, you guys know, I think that there's some gel test demos that were posted through Personal Defense Network a few months ago. And if you look closely, the gun that I'm shooting in those gel test demos is actually a prototype PD10 and 30 Super Carry. So it's really the viability of the round. Of course, it's exciting to work with a big company like Federal, to see the Avidity Arms logo next to the Smith & Wesson logo on their webpage saying, hey, here are the guns. And yesterday I did a live with Chris Locke from he's the handgun line production brand manager guy. Big title. But he runs all the handgun ammunition for Federal essentially. And he was on a live with me yesterday, and he was talking about how one of the most amazing pieces of the puzzle that I really didn't put together. This is the first mid-sized gun chambered in 30 Super Carry. If you look at the 1911 from Nighthawk, it's I think like a $4,000 gun. It's not going to be everybody. It's not going to be most anybody's everyday carry type gun. The Shield Plus is still a small gun. The EZ is a pretty niche gun from Smith & Wesson. So this is kind of the first standard mid-size striker fired carry gun, and a gun specifically designed for carry, and one that really takes advantage of the thinness of the 30 Super Carry. When you think about diameter, a lot of people are just thinking about how many rounds you can jam into the magazine. But if we were only doing 30 Super Carry, we could have made the PD10 even thinner. So it is exciting. It is exciting. The collaboration's exciting. The round's exciting. And going in the SHOT Show is the only new gun, the only new handgun in like a year and a half, and I think the only new gun chambered in 30 Super Carry, period. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So one of the reasons I have kind of talking about 30 Super Carry is you don't really have the wide variety of practice ammo as well as defensive ammo available to you. Do you know if Federal is are they producing the standard FMJs that people can pick up reasonably cheaply for practice?
I know we can't touch the guns because we're doing a live, but what do I have here? This is the Federal. I've got the Blazer here. So we've got 100 grain and 115 grain. I've got 4 different. I've got the HST round for the hollow points. There's the Punch. There's the HTP from Remington. Hornady actually does a critical defense in 30 Super Carry. I think they're the only ammunition company right now outside of the Vista group that's doing a round for it. So, and then of course you got Spear, you got the Gold Dot. So there's a lot of ammo out there for it. And I think one of the things that people have brought up right away is like the cost. And there's a little, and then again, I'd love to get, you guys got to get together with like the federal guys on some show. Sorry, they couldn't join us on the short notice this weekend, but they do a really good job of breaking it down. Originally they wanted to price the ammo with 380, right? Because, obviously R&D, it's not going to have the high volume that 9mm does. Matching 9mm prices was going to be hard. Right. So they wanted the FMJ, the practice ammo, the training ammo to be around the price of 380. And you think, well, okay, people who carry 380 pay a little extra because that's what they want to carry because they've got the small gun. And I think the problem obviously is they've been making 380 guns for like 100 years, right? So there's a lot of them out there. So people have to feed them. There aren't a lot of 30 super carry guns out there in terms of models or volume. Like there aren't a lot of owners. So to get adoption, you can't really say, well, it's the same as this other thing, but way better. You have to get it into people's hands. So the hollow points have always been about the same cost as a 9mm because the engineering and the relatively low volume that you get with the hollow points compared to FMJ. What they're doing now is they're offering a series of rebates, and their case costs at the distribution wholesale level has come way down from launch. So ultimately, if you do the rebates or it's currently produced ammo, you're going to see a very negligible difference, if not the same price with your 9mm training ammo across the brand, whether it's like the American Eagle or the Blazer or whatever it is. Cool. The problem is today, because there haven't been a lot of guns out there and there haven't been a lot of people buying the 30 Super Carry, a lot of that ammo is still 2022 ammo, which was sold to the retailer at a relatively high price. So you can't really go into the retail shop and if you see it for, 2 times what the 9mm is, it's not price gouging per se. It's just that ammo has been there since ammo was a lot more expensive 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I stopped by the booth at SHOT Show last year, and we did a little interview on it when you rolled it out. Last SHOT Show was when you rolled it out to the general public, which was really cool. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and do that little video. So this SHOT Show, same thing. You're going to be now obviously promoting that at the federal booth, so people should definitely stop by, get their hands on the gun, and talk to you.
Yeah, we're going to be all over SHOT Show. It's so, I don't want people to misunderstand this. Like, it's not that the PD10 9mm is going away and we're replacing it with 30 Super Carry. We're offering this as an option. I mean, it's an exciting option to offer. And obviously Federal's excited about the fact that we're doing it. So yeah, we'll have a 30 Super Carry gun on display at the 30 Super Carry sort of kiosk or vestibule at that giant Vista booth with all the ammo brands and everything else that they do represented there. So that's going to be cool. But the PD10 9mm will be with Viridian Weapon Technologies. It'll be with G-Code holsters. We'll be with Tac Rig holster. We'll be at the Gideon Optics. We'll be with Lucid Optics, and we're going to be all over us. And then we've got the rifle over there. Up on the wall, we've got the Avidity semi-automatic rifle, which is a collaboration with Nemo. So we'll have that at the Nemo booth. So nice. The Avidity Arms will be all over SHOT Show again.
Genius. That's genius, Rob. So we got a few questions on here that people have asked. Will Parker's asking, is the Super Carry mags fit, the 9mm mags fit? And then also, is it just as simple as a barrel swap out?
Good question. So, and again, you guys tell me if you think I'm crossing lines, but I've got a silver barrel here. They tend to show up a little bit better. So the lugs here that connect the breech face are a little different than the 9mm barrel. Therefore, obviously, then we have to make sure that the breech face has to be different. So in order to get everything to line up right, with the 30 Super Carry, it is a different barrel and a different slide.
Will, you're going to have to just buy another gun. You'll be okay.
Well, no. He's got a couple PD10s already, and they're running good for him, I think. So you can just do essentially the upper. You can do the slide and the barrel, and then you can use the 9mm magazines. And pretty reliably, you can get 11 rounds to fire through the 30 Super Carry upper on a standard frame, the only frame. Remember, we're just using it's the gray or the black. It's the same. All the parts in the frame are the same. So we are going to be selling for people who already have the 9mm guns. We're going to sell a 30 Super Carry barrel and slide combo on the website for them, which is obviously not a controlled item. It's not a registered firearm. So that's going to be able to be sent out. And then obviously people can get a whole gun. Now, the magazines that we're shipping with the whole guns, with the 30 Super Carry guns, are the same magazine body, the same spring, the same base plate, but a different follower. And that different follower controls the thinner 30 super carry round a little bit better. And that's where we're getting 12+1. So the 30 super carry mags will allow you to get 12+1. But if you have a PD10 already in 9mm, you could use those other mags. One of the things we found, though, is we're going to put a little warning note in there if you buy the conversion kit. If you try to get 12 into the magazine of the 9mm, you might get away with it, but you're going to be bending your follower, and that's going to screw up the reliability of the gun. So we're going to hope people avoid that. So we're excited about it, because the other thing about, I know there's going to be some people who say, well, I'm not sure if I want to get into 30 super carry. Where's that ammunition going to be in 5 years? I think we're going to be fine finding ammunition in 5 years, but ultimately you could kind of retroactively get a 30 super carry and then decide to add the 9mm slide and barrel as well. So
I think I'll pick up a slide. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I'm totally cutting you off, Matt, but
that's all right.
The 30 super carry slide, call it kit, will that go onto a PD10 3D print?
Yeah. So it'll work the same way. So just like the 3D printed frames, that we put that file out there for the 3D printing community, people can buy the parts kit from JSD Supply, who I know you're very familiar with. But if you already have that kit built, then yes, you can get the 30 super carry slide and barrel. The other part that's different is the loaded chamber indicator, believe it or not. Like, the loaded chamber indicator is intended to be a tactile loaded chamber indicator, right? Because as you guys know very well, like, I don't want people looking at their guns, if they don't need to. So we wanted to stand up a certain amount when the chamber's loaded, and with the original 9mm loaded chamber indicator with a 30 super carry barrel and slide and a 30 super carry round in there, it just doesn't protrude enough for me to consider it tactile. You know how people say you can use the Glock extractor or the old Beretta 92, where sometimes you get them painted red in that little divot when the extractors popped out? And I never really trust that. Like, that's not enough movement, enough distinction for me. So we do have a different loaded chamber indicator in the 30 super carry models. We can't use it in 9mm because then it sticks up like the wind's going to move your gun if you catch sticks up.
It's like a sail.
Yeah. So we don't. So unfortunately, that was one part we had to change. We didn't think we were going to have to, but for the most part, it's exactly the same gun.
Nice.
Cool.
So, same recoil spring. A lot of people ask that. Same recoil spring also.
Nice. So the thought is a cult following, and you're going to have that. Especially with your stay in the industry, you're going to have people that are going to want it just because it's something that you've come up with. And I think that, along with Federal and other manufacturers, is going to help perpetuate that and make that more of a frequent thing we see. And to that note, we've got Patrick Collins mentioning that he's an old FUD that only likes 45. So there you go, Patrick.
Well, that's not true. I have a whole box full of 5.56, 223.
Not you. I'm calling him an old FUD.
Oh, him. Oh, okay. No, he's not. No, maybe that's why he sent me all this newfangled ammo, because he sends me 9mm. We got a great thing going with Gun Food. What he does, I buy my test ammo from him now. And what he does, so if I put an order in for 500 or 1,000 rounds of just kind of any mix from 115 or 124 or 147 of ball 9mm from any, and he's got if somebody drops a box on the ground and that box gets smashed in a little bit, cool, send it to me, because I'm not putting it on a retail shelf. And what it does is it allows me to test PD10s with a wide variety of ammunition types, right? And he also will throw in a box or two of hollow points from whatever he happens to have some extra laying around, because then I'm also testing different hollow points rather than have to call up every hollow point manufacturer and try to get a deal for half a case that I'm going to use in the next 2 years of it. So that relationship's working out really well. So I appreciate Patrick being a little bit outside the box and helping me get a lot of different test ammo through a lot of different PD10s.
Yeah, Patrick's a good dude. All right. We also have Mark Lindblom is talking about, let's see, love the PD10. Thanks, Rob. Hope all is well, Matt. I hope to see you guys at SHOT. Yep, we'll all be there at SHOT. Klint will be there Monday and Tuesday. So anybody wants to, hug him, give him a signature, take a selfie with him, anything like that, hit us up. We'll be there. And then our good friend Bill Dalpy hops on. Can you discuss the ballistics performance between 30 super and 9mm, generally speaking? Yes.
So the first way it was introduced to me as being superior was actually at the ballistic summit at the Lucid Optics Ballistic Summit a couple years ago. And what I was told was I needed to really understand the ballistic coefficient and the sectional density of the 30 Super Carry compared to 9mm, because it was going to be capable of extreme accuracy, including accuracy over longer distances than one might expect from a handgun. And I immediately said, what's going on over here? Because like I'm teaching people to shoot across the bedroom, or
bedroom distance, like your ballistic coefficient isn't really that big of a deal.
Having said that, the truth is that that's important to the end result of what happens when the bullet goes where it needs to go, because the way this bullet is engineered, and like I said, like I've got HST, like everybody knows HST rounds, right? Like it may not be your personal favorite, but you got to respect the round, right? And it does what it's supposed to do. So taking the 30 Super Carry version of HST and assuming it does exactly what it's supposed to do, like the 9mm, the 40, the 45, whatever other HST you want, you got to hit the thing with it, right? So one of the concerns I think that people have is, well, is the round going to go where I need it to go? Well, this round's going to go everywhere you need it to go, at least as well as a 9mm, if not better. And one of the things that Federal will say, and the guys who are more into the, what could we do with this kind of thing, they'll tell you that, if you put this in a 5 or a 6-inch barrel, your velocity is much higher. The bullet is more stable. And as with people, kind of pushing limits more and more with red dots on pistols, whether we think it's really necessary for a personal defense round to be able to hit a man-sized target reliably at 100 yards or not, this round is inherently more capable of that kind of stuff. You remember like a couple years ago when everybody was doing the 40-yard drills? 30 Super Carry is going to perform a lot better. So when you start thinking about competition shooting and some other things, a carbine, right now, so ballistically, this round is 100 grain, 100 grain to 115 grain. There's a one oddball 103 grain hollow point from the Remington brand out there as well. These things are moving faster. It's also a very high pressure round. So it pushes up. The SAMI specs on this are about as hot as you can get in a handgun. But the engineering, we're not concerned at all about the engineering and the way some guns get beat up. This bullet's so light that the high pressure doesn't equate automatically into you're beating up your gun. What it just equates to is it's going to move this little bullet really fast. But it also then gives us the reliability window that we need. So we didn't have to change the weight. As I said, it's the same recoil spring. And what we see then when we get to the terminal performance is the velocity makes up for the lack of weight. And it pushes this bullet, which then also gains from being a slightly smaller diameter in terms of penetration. So you've got less resistance, obviously, because you have less surface area. People will say, well, what about expansion? Don't we want the hollow point bullet to expand? Well, of course, if you're using a good quality hollow point bullet like the Punch or the HST, and that bullet opens up, you're not going to be as big as 9mm, but you're going to go at least as deep as 9mm. So what they're seeing in like the FBI tests and calibrated gel, not the clear gel that like I use it, Personal Defense Network and everywhere else, they're seeing at least as good a performance from comparable bullets out of the 30 Super Carry as you are in 9mm. And a lot of times you get more penetration. And that's what I saw. So if people go look at the demo I did a straight, just like, let's just shoot it. And then I did a comparison, multiple shots, comparison into gel through light clothing against 9mm, the 124 plus P that I've been carrying and recommending for a long time. And this outperforms it. And there's really no two ways about it. So you also can shoot it faster, right? Theoretically, with a lower weight bullet, you're going to have less recoil. So you can potentially shoot it faster. I will tell you that probably out of the PD10, it doesn't make a difference unless you're already, pushing right up against the physical limits of the gun. For most people, you're going to shoot this just as fast as you are 9mm, but you're going to have a couple more rounds in the gun. Obviously, a lot of people like that. I think it's an asterisk. The good news here is the bullet performs really well, and it fires. It works really reliably and fires really well out of the PD10 as well.
Well, if you look at, like I always pitch 9mm over 45, and everybody's like, 45, it's big, it's going to make a bigger hole. But then I can shoot a 9mm faster than a 45. So I'm going to get two 9mm holes. 0.380 plus 0.380 is bigger than 0.450. So if you think of that, but also with the 30 Super Carry over time, I think, and correct me if you disagree, Rob, that there's going to be better ballistics, there's going to be more bullets, there's going to be more money in research and development on that caliber, just like 9. I mean, 9, the only reason we might say 9 is something we go with over 45 is because 9's come so far with research and development over the years where it is more closer to a 45 than maybe back in the beginning days?
Yeah, I think really for me, I've looked at it more like the 9 versus 40, right? The argument inside of law enforcement over the last decade or so. And I think that there's no doubt that it's pretty standard. It's like a cliche now almost. Like the 9mm today are great because of the last 20 to 30 years of evolution of bonded, mostly because of bonded hollow point bullets, and then some of the engineering of how the bullets actually expand and the alloys and things like that. So 30 Super Carry initially like shows up on day one benefiting from that. Like I said, the HST, the punch, like it benefits from all that stuff on day one. And sure, it's going to evolve, having other people look at it, like Hornaday with the critical defense being now added to the 30 Super Carry line. I mean, it's definitely going to benefit from those things. I think that it didn't dawn on me really until the last couple of days of talking about it so much and talking about it more and seeing Federal talking about what, like the reasons they're excited about the PD10. It really didn't click in my head how important it was to have, a mid-sized gun and a mid-sized gun that accommodates large hands and really lets this bullet kind of show itself off even with a 4-inch barrel out of a full-size grip gun. When we put our long slides out, our long slides are going to start shipping in March. So you're going to have a 5-inch barrel. And then eventually, maybe this time next year, we'll be talking about the double stack. And that's really where, now you're talking about it with the single stack. You guys know I'm perfectly fine with 10+1. I'm not going to, on principle, only put 10 rounds of 30 Super Carry in it. If it goes to 12, great. But it wasn't worth a bigger gun or a wider gun to try to get 12 or 13 9mm rounds. However, when we go to the double stack gun, one of the big reasons to go to double stack is more bullets. So I do have a much higher level of excitement about 21 versus 18, or 21+1 versus 18+1 than I do 10 to 12. But I know a lot of people are going to be excited about the 12 round capacity.
So Will Parker chimed in again with another one which kind of fits along with your long slide. So the PD10 long slide upper and 30 Super Carry would be the ticket for velocity.
Yeah, I mean, I depends obviously from 100 to 115 and which exact loading, but you're probably looking at 1,200, 1,300 feet per second out of that 5-inch barrel from some of the 30 Super Carry loads.
Nice. So you always talk fast, so maybe you said it already, but what's the bullet weight for the HST or
100? Yeah, that's 100. So it's you see from 100 to 115 as the common loads. Now I have had a bunch of people reach out to me like, I've been doing solid copper bullets, or I've been doing this bullet, or I loaded this bullet that I whittled out of wood into my tasers. It's amazing how many people are like have all these loads for 30 Super Carry that they're not commercial loads. There's like people are doing it at home, and it's like, all right, well that's cool. But yeah, the commercial loads are 100 to 115 with that one, and usually it's 100 or 115.
That actually might be rather appealing for someone that's strictly using it as a home defense gun, and they live in like a modern Ryan home or something, where over penetration is a consideration or a factor.
Yeah, lighter bullets are going to be disrupted more by intermediate barriers, right? And that's so if this were like being proposed as a replacement for law enforcement, one of the only reasons to still have 40 Super Carry, or sorry, 40 Smith & Wesson in your gun if you're in law enforcement is because you're much more likely to need to shoot through intermediate barriers, parts of homes or parts of cars, as opposed to personal defense where it almost never happens that you have to shoot through parts of things because the bad guy is trying to hurt you and you aren't inside of those things, right? As opposed to the police officers who are trying to get the bad guys who are hiding behind the things. So the heavier bullets you do gain that momentum effect pushing through. Although the Federal guys, they're pretty proud of the way HST works to defeat intermediate barriers. And I don't think they would blink about having to shoot into a car, out of a car, through a wall door if someone was shooting at you with that HST round that's 100 grain.
You made a good point too, that it's got more deeper penetration. And if you go back and you think about that too, with people's push on the 45 or even the 40 in that case, is going to give you a deeper penetration than a 9. Well, in this case, it's going to give you deeper penetration than like a 380. It fits that same narrative for those types of people. But what we're coming up against, people with drugs in their system, larger people with up in the north, people with coats on and Carhartts. It's going to be harder to get through that stuff. So having that deeper penetration might mean it actually goes into those vital organs versus just piercing the skin a little bit and causing a little bit of blood. Where takes them longer to bleed out.
Yeah, it's a different mechanism of penetration. So you've got the heavier bullets are going to penetrate deeper because of that momentum. This light fast bullet's just going to charge in through there, and you've got the initial velocity at impact combined with the lower friction, lower surface area because it's a narrower bullet. That's how you get more penetration out of a 30 super carry. So using 9 is the standard, right? Like why would a 40 or 45 go deeper? It's the weight. Why does the 30 super carry go deeper? It's the diameter and the speed.
Right. Like a 22 can rip through a knife can rip through a bulletproof vest. It's a lot easier, at least older bulletproof vests, because of the, it's
surface area.
Surface area.
I wonder if someone's got to be making dies. 30 super carry's been around a little while.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, once it got SAMI approval, right? Then
everybody's making dies.
Open for anything anybody wanted to do. It was not hard to the engineering. People have asked me, like, I actually saw somebody, on the internet was like, oh, you guys are going to lose so much money on this and you should never have invested in that. And it's like, I mean, I'm not saying it was like cheap, right? It wasn't like $10 cheap, but the lift from 9mm to 30 super carry, once the gun is running and working, when I actually got it ready and I was ready to tell the team at Federal, they had sent all the engineering stuff I asked for, and they sent a bunch of ammo for testing, and they were kind of like, yeah, we were excited about this, and it was all good. We're glad and good. And we'll have a meeting. We'll back you, and we're going to put you on the webpage and all this stuff. So a few months later, it's like, hey guys, we're ready. Right. So we have a Zoom meeting, and I'm going to send the email out before the Zoom meeting. And I told their whole team, I'm like, hey guys, we're super excited about this. We're proud to have done it. Can't wait to talk to you more about the details. Looking forward to the meeting. But honestly, like, if you just want to pat me on the head and say, that's cute, Block and SIG are coming out with 30 super carry at SHOT Show, so it's not going to be as big a deal as we thought it was. I get it, right? Because we're like this tiny little company with like one gun, and only at that point, I don't think we had hit 1,000 shipped. But maybe we had just hit it. So it's like, wow. I'm talking to like Vista, right? I'm talking to Federal, like there, and I can't believe that we don't see, Glock, Walther, FN, SIG. Like it still astounds me knowing what we were able to accomplish, like in this building with our team. We're barely having launched our first gun, how it was relatively easy to make that jump into 30 super carry. I can't figure out for the life of me why SIG hasn't thrown one out there just to see what happens, or even Smith to have done it, a year and a half, 2 years ago, but not done anything else with it. They haven't expanded it into the line past the initial 2 guns. It's really kind of surprising. It's the only other company that's added a gun, and that's their carbine.
Yeah, it's a perfect mix because you have a very super carry pistol with the PD10. So that's
what's exciting. Yeah, that we're not changing what the PD10 is about to work with this round. We're actually, we're with a round that is the latest, greatest version of what a company who's looked at this for a long time thinks a defensive round should be. And hopefully I'm a guy who's looked at guns for a long time, and the PD10 is seen as what a defensive gun should be. So they go together really well.
So the PD10 is not the super carry, it's the super carry.
I don't know. I don't think we're just going to stick with the 1U.
I'm going to try to make that stick. It's just like everyone listening. It's just like when Wile E. Coyote says super genius. It's the same to think of that.
Stop that.
We can sing that together when we're at the Vista booth vestibule.
There's not
that could be another.
There's only room for 1U.
1U.
Yeah. Sorry.
You can put an umlaut over it, like Motley Crue. It would be super.
Not how that works, sir.
No.
I've been to Europe. That's not how that works.
All right, we got another one from Patrick Collins. Bullets and technology evolve. I'm glad Avidity Arms is in the forefront.
I appreciate it for sure. And I appreciate you guys helping me share the news. Like I said, oh, look at that. There's Leo.
American Sight Man. Leo.
Yeah.
Saying howdy.
Leo's got my back.
I will see you guys next week, right?
Yes, definitely.
Will you be there? You'll be there the whole time, right, Matt?
I will be there Saturday till Sunday.
All right. And just a couple days, Klint?
I'm getting in Sunday night, and then I'll be there for range day, and then Tuesday we're running around, and I'm leaving Monday or Wednesday morning. Yeah.
All right. I get in like crazy early Monday, and I'll be there through Saturday. So Like I said, I appreciate you guys helping us share the news on this one. It is exciting. Absolutely. And I know a lot of people have questions about it. And the more we get those answers out, the better. And we'll be sharing this video out. I appreciate everybody who tuned in live on a Saturday night. And anybody has any questions, avidityarms.com. I'm on the internet. Throw it into the comments here. I'll be keeping an eye on them over the next couple of days, I'm sure. And we're excited about it. And if nothing else, more people looking at the PD10 and more people looking at 30 Super Carry. That just makes people think more about all their gear and their choices. So I think that's.
Will we be able to see the PD10 at PDN training tour this year in Super Carry?
So, that's a good question. I was thinking about that. We have, we always have our meetings to kind of finalize who the tour sponsors are. We always kind of do a big announcement about who those tour sponsors are. And I will tell you that right now it is to be determined whether or not we will have 30 Super Carry officially on the tour.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that any ammo company that comes in that might not load for 30 Super Carry is going to have to deal with the fact that I'm going to have 30 Super Carry with me at a lot of events, and I'm sure people are going to want to shoot it. So it'll be out there. We don't know if it's going to be on the banner, but I'm sure I'm going to have the 30 Super Carry PD10s with me anytime I'm on the range for the next year, because so many people are curious about this round.
We have to get you your Pennsylvania dates here on your leg of the tour. Without even asking, I've already scheduled like all my tour dates. So I've got quite a few PDN tour dates this year. I wanted to do more than I did last year, so I've got them already scheduled out.
We're glad to have you, and obviously we'll be announcing who all those instructors are again. We'll do all that probably in about 2 weeks. It'll be the week after SHOT. We'll launch the new website at PDN and tell everybody what's going on with the tour. And I will be very happy, obviously, not only to have you running around doing all kinds of tour stuff, but to hang out with you in Western Pennsylvania on the range.
Yes, absolutely.
It's awesome. Always awesome having you, Rob. And before you go, you got to pick two numbers. Give me two numbers between 1 and 8.
7 and 5.
7 and 5. All right.
That's pretty quick.
So, Klint, tell me who gets who number 7 gets. You want him to get a cert, or you want him to get a Mantis X10?
7 starts with S, and so does cert. I'm going to say the cert.
Okay, so Jeannie Denston gets the cert.
Sweet.
Okay.
Congratulations, Jeannie.
5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mark Lindblom gets Mantis.
Nice.
Good deal.
Yep.
That's fun.
We need to get on Mike Hughes' case and see if he can make a PD10 cert pistol.
Ooh. That's a big ask. I know how much those plastic molds cost. That's a big ask.
Yeah, I got a tour of that place last August. Holy cow.
Yeah. Maybe we can get a modification when we get the double stack out that'll work off of like the M&P mold or something. But yeah, that's a big ask. It's and I can't show them because they look too much like guns. But I've got all my certs sitting right here, and the single stack cert pistol, the real compact one, it's close, right? Like,
it's not far off.
It kind of fits, but it's just got such a short slide. But it kind of fits. It fits actually really well in the G-code Synchron holster because I did check. But as far as we need more grip and more slide, but not as wide as all the double stacks. So, but the cert pistol is a cool tool either way for sure, and that's awesome. All right, good deal.
Super. All right, thanks everybody for joining in.
Thanks guys.
It's been awesome. Have a great night.
Take care, fellas.
Have a good rest of the weekend.